Oi you, it's time for another episode of Dorothy and the Dealer. Let's tune into the conversation.
Here we go.
Good morning.
Yo, how you going?
Oh, a bit under pressure this morning.
Under pressure.
I think you chose that song for that reason.
Well, when I see people under pressure, songs come into my head. You know, when
Is
I see
that
people
right?
happy, songs come into my head. I see people riding bikes, songs come into my head. You know?
What is going on for you this morning? 'Cause
Nothing.
You're a bit.
I'm actually. I had an argument with a bank this morning. I wanted to punch someone in the face.
Is
at the
that
bank.
right?
Yeah, but other than that, I'm fine.
Is that right?
They call them bankers for a reason. Don't they? Proper banker. He's a
excellent.
proper banker.
He's a proper banker.
Anyway, let's talk about mission statement stuff. Yeah?
Yes. So we get asked all the time about how to write a mission statement, and obviously we go through that process in full, properly, in detail in one of our seminars. So we're letting it go.
Yeah.
But just maybe going through an overview of the steps and what we need to do and what a person has to look at in terms of writing a mission statement.
So one of the things that I think is important is if you can imagine that. Do you remember years ago you'd watch those like 50s and 60s movies? You know, like they'd be in a submarine and they'd have like this screen in front of them, and it had like a circle, and then in the middle there was a dot, and then this line going around, boo, boo, boo. Right, that was like a person's got to see that's their
like
life.
their radar.
Yeah, that's their radar. That's their sphere of influence, right? And they have a radar, right? Do you remember the screens?
Yeah, I know. But
they have a radar. They got a dot in the middle. There's a line that follows around, and it's anything that comes in and out of their radar, you know, shows up as a boo, right? So on your radar, your life, you got to see your life as a radar, and you've got like this screen in front of you, and it's got a sphere of influence around it. So in order, we're talking about in terms of a mission statement right now is tidying up what's within that radar. But you have to understand that unless you have a breakthrough, right? Unless you break through your spheres of influence, you know that there's things outside of that radar that are trying to make their way onto your screen, right? And the key is that you want to learn how to get those things into your screen, onto your radar. To do that, the first thing you need to do is you need to tidy up what's already in your existing screen, what's in your existing radar. The only way then to break through that, I know, because people say, so how do I break through? How do I get these other things that are outside that I can think about, but I can't see them in my life? How do I get them in? But the only way to do that is it's not about bringing them in. It's you have to go there. Does that make sense?
I think that's a good way to describe that whole sphere of influence. It's like it's in your zone. You can actually pick up the energy of it in your space.
Yeah.
But there's stuff outside of your space, and you don't know how to get out there, and it doesn't know how to get to you, or you don't know how to allow it into your space. So what we're talking about, so basically what you're saying is what we're talking about in terms of building your mission is dealing with what's currently in your radar here now, and how do you
when we're talking about dealing with what's currently in your radar now, we're talking about understanding how your existing radar actually works.
Yep.
Hey, what does this dot mean, and what does this graph mean, and how do I measure the distance between where I am and how do I get there? So that's what we're talking about right now. But if people want to, all this is going to do, what we're saying now is, because I'm just trying to be clear with people, all this is going to do is tidy up what's in your existing radar.
Yep.
But it doesn't bring into your sphere of influence the other things that are outside. To do that, you have to learn how to break through your screen. You have to learn how to break through that sphere of influence.
Yeah.
So, but to tidy up what's already in there, this is what I do with people that I'm dealing with. When I'm dealing with my own personal clients, this is how I teach them how to do it.
So step number 1.
Well, step number 1 we've already spoken about, which we put out on the podcast, which we did with Kirby. But it's basically,
you mean a reel?
Sorry, a reel. Yeah. Sorry, that was a reel. So on that reel, the first step we said was you got to imagine that you've gone to the doctor, and the doctor said to you, "You've 6 months to live. You've all your health. You've no limitations of money. You've no family, no kids, no nothing. What would you love?
Even no kids?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. What would you love to do in your life? What would you love to be doing? It's not about what your kids would love to be doing. What would you personally love to be doing in your life? So you got 6 months to live. You have absolute health, and it's done. And you have everything you need around you to be able to achieve what it is you would love to achieve.
So there's no restrictions on...
No restrictions.
Is that why you said no kids, though?
No family restrictions, no financial restrictions, no health restrictions.
But kids, if you've got kids, they can be a part of what you would love to do.
Sure, but you can't make it about them.
No, 100%.
Okay, it has to be about you. What would you love to do?
So then you have to look at your life as you're not limited in any way.
Yeah.
You have whatever money you need, you've got whatever time you need, you've got whatever resources you need, and the fact that, you might have, I don't know, kids, business, any of that sort of stuff, none of that is going to take you away from doing what you love.
Yes.
Right. So you write down what you would do if you had 6 months to live and you had no restrictions.
Yeah. Okay. Then the next thing is, okay.
So in terms of that, is there a certain... So because this is our first step, right? We've just got to go through and make sure we're clear with that. Is there something that... Is that something you have to like write down? What are you doing?
You got to sit back. Well, my recommendation when people are doing this is you got to sit back, stop, take some time out, go to a cafe, go to a mountain, I don't care, go to a park, and ask yourself that question. You've just had the fucking shocking statement where the doctor said in 6 months' time you're gone. You're out.
Yeah.
But between now and then, you've absolute health. You're not going to die slowly. It's going to be immediate. You've absolute health. What is it you would love to do? How would you love to be remembered? What is the legacy things you would like to leave the world? How would you leave the world behind? What are the things you would do within that 6 months to be able to make sure you felt fulfilled?
Right. So then step number 2 is what?
Then you got to ask yourself, okay, what are the qualities and attributes you would be exercising? Who is the person that shows up in that?
Yeah. So let me just clarify it. Step number 1 is having the situation. You've got to go back and you've got to think about it.
Yeah.
Right. Step number 2 is you've got to write it down.
Yes.
Okay. So you've got to write down, take yourself away, write it all down. Mm-hmm. And does that have to be a limited piece of writing? Like, does it have to be?
I mean, I generally say to people anything between 140 and 70 words. 70 to 140 words.
70 to 140.
Yeah, 70 to 140
Why
words.
so short amount?
Well, because you want to make it concise, because otherwise you just get annoyed reading it.
You'll also start adding things that aren't.
Yes.
You'll start to think you have to limit it because you have to really think about what's at the top of that list. It's not like putting down every single minute detail of what you want to do.
It avoids paralysis by analysis. Going into great detail just on one thing and then thinking, "Fuck, how do I fit it all in?"
Right.
You got to fit it all in.
So keeping it quite concise is the key. So the next step then is after you've thought on it is to write it all down.
Yep.
And then step number 3
is who is the person? What are the qualities and attributes the person would have that would be living that out? What are the qualities? Who is the person that's living that out? I.e., would you have to be organised, disciplined, focused, diligent, open, awake, aware? What are the qualities you perceive you would be living? Who would you be internally if you were living that out? So
when you're reading it, are you thinking about it in terms of yourself? Are you writing that down in terms of yourself, like I am strong or I am disciplined or whatever?
Yeah. No, I would be, I should be, I ought to be. You've got to write it as if you already are that person.
So you list down the attributes as in the present tense of what you need to have within yourself to be able to do that.
Yes.
So and there's no limit on that, is there?
Look, my recommendation would be you would never really have any more than 100 is a lot, but I would suggest. I mean, if I look at mine, because I've refined it down. I'll talk to people in a minute how to refine it down. You'd be probably looking at between 40 and 50 attributes. Right.
So can you write it down and then narrow it down, or would you just write everything down and just like whatever comes to you and then narrow it down? Is that how you would do it?
It's pretty. As soon as you see what it is you want to do, your mind automatically knows and feels that gap. Oh, fuck, in order for me to do that, I have to be this and I have to be this. So all you're doing is you're now declaring that. Okay, you may not, and the point is that as people write down these attributes, a lot of the time they don't feel as if they have them. Oh, fuck, I'd have to be really organised. Oh, my God, I'd have to be really disciplined to get all that done within 6 months. Oh, my God, I'd have to be really intelligent to be able to, go and have those conversations. So once you write down the qualities that in the present tense, you then have to go to it for each quality. Go to a time, a space, and a location where you've lived that quality out. Because otherwise, if you're writing it down, it's just lip service. It doesn't actually mean anything.
So you've got to really get that you are those things. So
you haven't actually fully owned the trait and characteristic until you've owned it.
So I think that's important, because what happens is that people write, like you said, they write these things down and they think, I'm strong, I have to be those things. And then we say, make sure you write it in the present tense. And when we say that, people are like, yeah, but I'm not that. So you have to, so what you're saying is that go to the time that you've experienced that, so that when you're writing it, it's an actual true statement. You're not just making shite up in order just to write it down. Yeah.
Because otherwise, when you write the qualities down, if you don't own them, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be feeling as if you lack everything that you wrote down. You know what I mean? So you feel this sense of, I'm not enough, I don't deserve, I'm not that. That's why most people don't read their mission statements. And that's why most people do not write down a mission statement. They don't write it down because they perceive they're creating a place that they're not at, and they're showing themselves values that they feel that are characteristics and traits that they feel they don't have. It makes them feel too vulnerable, so they won't write it down.
All right, step number 4 then.
So number 4 then really is you've got to write out how you would love to see your life rolling out. So what would you love to receive for doing that?
So what would life look like? Is that what you're saying?
Well, what I mean is that by the process of fulfilling this vision, I receive. So what do you receive? If you were to say to life, look, I really want to do this. This is how most people operate in the world. I want to be of service to the world, but you don't need to give me anything. You know what I mean? No, you have to understand it's a process. It's a process of receiving and emitting. It's a process. So if you're not clear with how you want your life to roll out, if you're not clear how you want your life to roll out in terms of your relationship through that time period, if you want to see if you don't want to see how you want to see your finances come about, how your career comes about, how your family comes about, what homes you have, what cars you drive, how often you travel, if you don't have that in your mission statement, if you don't declare that to your mission statement, I mean, it's going to bring you back stuff anyway. It might bring you back things that you actually don't want. So it's very, very wise to be really, really clear about how you want to receive for what it is you're giving.
Right. So, but then how does that read, Mitch? Because it doesn't sound like that reads, like based on what we've said so far, you write down what you want to do, you write down in 140 words or so, you write down the attributes, and then you write down what you want to receive. But how does that, it sounds like, are they separate, are they separate?
Well, one is, this is what I want to do.
So you're talking about it being like, I know how we do it when we teach it, but are you talking about it being in 3 separate sections?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So the question then is, what does your relationship look like? Is it sexually fulfilling? Have you got deep levels of intimacy with your partner? Does your partner feel like really clear with the journey? How often do you communicate? How connected are you? What does it feel like in terms of your relationship?
Right.
What's happening with your finances? And we always say never put a monetary amount down.
Because it's limiting.
But put down that, you receive money in ways that are unpredictable. You always have over and above what you expect financially. And you always feel abundant and clear and like you're capable of acquiring anything that you want. So that's really what you want to be saying.
Okay.
And then, so what does the relationship with the kids look like? My children are highly educated. They are deeply appreciative. We have a connection that goes beyond mortality. You know, we have an immortal connection with one another. We understand that we're kindred spirits. We speak to each other's values. What does it look like?
Okay.
You know, how do your relationships, how are you getting feedback that you're on track? And you've got to be in control of that.
Yeah, 100%. If you're not in control of it, life becomes in control of it. That's the whole purpose of a mission statement, is to actually share it. Okay. And then what's the last bit?
So if we understand that life is a resonance game, the final bit is actually the first bit. So if you were achieving all of this and doing all of this, so you're clear about what you give, you're clear about what you're building, you're clear that maintain-wise that you have the qualities and attributes to build it, and then you're clear about how life is going to feed back to you, and you've declared to life how you want to see it feed back to you, that you're on track, so how your life is going to roll out. But then the final thing is if all of that was happening and you were that person, yes, what would you feel inside of yourself?
Yeah.
What would the feelings be every morning when you wake up? What would the feelings be every morning when you wake up? So what would you be feeling inside of yourself if that was being accomplished?
Yeah.
So, for example, would you be feeling awake? Would you be feeling connected? Would you be feeling unlimited? Would you be feeling in flow? How would you be feeling? So show up emotionally before the rest of the world turns up.
So, yeah, okay. So your feeling is about bringing back to you and being able to resonate with the feeling of the person who is achieving all of those things.
Yeah.
Because if you are looking to become somebody who feels successful and free, and every day you access the feeling of being trapped and like a failure, you're never going to get to that point.
That's right.
So you have to recognize and resonate with the feeling of the person that you're going to be and access that feeling every single day. So writing that down, and you're saying writing that down at the beginning is what you need to do to help you to get to that place.
But you can't write it first. That has to be the last thing that you write.
Down, of course.
But it's your declaration should be, I Mr. Jones, state that my primary purpose is to feel, and then write down the 7 core feelings that you would be feeling if you were achieving this.
So the only thing I'm going to say about what you've said there is that you've said you want what you're going to give, but if people are writing down what they're going to do, like if the first thing you've said is in 6 months' time, I'm writing down in 100 words what I'm going to do, if I had 6 months to live. Do you think that, what are you saying that in that first step, there is innate in that what they want to give to the world? Because wouldn't you say that a lot of people would say, I'd go traveling, I'd spend time with my family, and it would be quite, what's the word?
Selfish?
No, not selfish. More, I don't know what the word. I don't know what the right word is. But when you say you've got 6 months to live, like, wouldn't you say that a lot of people would be like, okay, well, to heck with all the rest of that. This is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And it will be focusing in on. Do you think that the energy of what's in there is what they want to give, is what people want to give?
Totally. It's what they want to do. That's why I said, how would you be remembered? You're leaving here now in 6 months. What would you have done in the world that you'd be remembered for?
Right. So that's an important part of it then.
Yeah, that's
Sorry,
your legacy.
I missed you said that. I know, I heard you said that, but like it's not just about, fuck it all, I'm just going to...
But it can be.
It can be, yeah, no, I get that.
I've absolutely no problem. For me, I just want people to start, if you're going to write a mission statement, just don't give a fuck about what anybody else thinks of you. Don't give a fuck about what anybody else thinks of you. What is it you would love to do here?
Yeah.
Because you simply showing up here at birth is enough.
Of course.
So no matter what you do, it's enough.
Yeah, you being born is enough.
That's enough.
You don't need to do it.
So if it is that you want to spend 6 months traveling, I've no fucking problem with that. I'm not going to stand here and go, well, fuck you. I'm over here. I'm over here being a plumber and you're fucking traveling the world. Fuck you.
No. I just wanted to make sure, based on the fact that you said what you want to give, because I want to make sure that, whoever goes in and takes this and takes it on understands that it doesn't actually matter. It's like whatever you do in that 6 months is what you want.
I'm following a great guy from Ireland at the moment, right? And he's just been diagnosed with terminal brain cancer. And what he's doing is he's traveling around the world and he's trying to raise the most amount of money through social media for a foundation, for a certain foundation. I'm not completely clear about what it is, but I'm following him at the moment. And that's a fucking great example. He's just, because a person can be that they want to travel, but while they're traveling, they may meet just one person, and tell their story and touch that person's life, and then that person goes away and makes a huge difference.
So it's not about, but you don't have to write that down in what we're saying. It's just about getting clear with what you want to do.
What do you want to do? Just for the first time, don't worry about if anybody else is going to judge you because you said you wanted to fucking lay on a bed in W Hotel in Bali for the next 6 months. I don't give a fuck. As long as you're just, for the first time, the more people get cleared about why they are here in the world and what it is they can do, the better a difference we're going to make. The better we're all going to have a chance. There's only a small part of the population of the planet want to fucking scrap at each other. Everybody else just wants to raise their kids and fucking travel the world and have a good time and enjoy the planet and be alive. And that's what the masses really, really want to do.
So. Consider, take time out to consider what you would do if you had 6 months to live. Write it down in a short statement, like a concise statement. That has to also be in the present tense. There's no point writing that like, I would love to do that. Just what you are doing if you've got 6 months to live. So write in the present tense. Write the attributes that you bring to the table in the present tense. Write down what life looks like as a result of that, so what you're going to receive and how your life plays out as a result of you achieving that, and then ultimately write down how it would make you feel if you were achieving that, but pop that at the start. Do it last, but pop it at the start.
Yeah. And then just remember that this is how you tidy up your radar. This is how you get it right.
Perfect.
Even if you live the most extraordinary life, there is always more to learn. This is why tens of thousands of people are using MJB Seminars techniques to hack their consciousness and bridge the gap from where they are to where they actually want to be.
MJB Seminars use cutting-edge transformational processes that are science-based and backed to help people break through subconscious barriers and limiting beliefs in order to reset, reboot, and live inspired. If you'd like to know more today, Google search MJB Seminars Bridge the Gap. Click on the first link and watch the video.
Now, for simply watching the video, you will also receive a complimentary coaching session with one of our master coaches valued at over $600 to help you get traction in your life today. Remember, live life inspired.